Welcome back to LBG Reviews. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. Hollow Knight is a Metroidvania released back in 2017 by Team Cherry. Before we dive into the rest of the video, let me explain what a Metroidvania is. Metroidvania comes from two classic retro games, Super Metroid and Castlevania. Both games have a sprawling maze for you to explore in order to find weapons, power-ups, and other things for you to be able to explore the rest of the maze, fight enemies, and beat the game. The Metroid series is more well known for its requirements of finding special power-ups and abilities in order to continue to explore the map, but later additions to the Castlevania series have made this adjustment as well. Hollow Knight shares similarities with both of these games in the sense that you have to find abilities as you beat bosses in order to expand your moveset to be able to explore further reaches of the map and even explore areas in earlier regions that you could not previously get to. As a result, Hollow Knight has a lot of mystery, charm, as well as being full of challenge. However, speaking of charms, Hollow Knight itself does not actually have any accessibility options within, say, an in-game menu. Hollow Knight does offer optional equipable charms, however. Charms are optional equipable stat bonuses that can change anything from the amount of damage that you deal at a certain threshold of health, how far your nail, aka your sword, swings. It could also change what happens when you take damage. It could change what happens when you cast spells. However, there is also a very specific limitation to charms. Charms take up what are referred to as charm notches. Each charm takes up a different value. Some only take up 1, some take up 2, some take up 3 or more, and you can find more charm notches for you to expand the amount of charms that you can equip, but you need to explore further into the game in order to find the charm notches. And that's not to say that the charm notches are a hard limit on how many charms you can have. There is the option to overcharm, which means to equip more charms than you have charm notches for. However, the drawback with overcharming is that with overcharming you take double damage of what you normally would. In a way, that's not a bad thing though. Hollow Knight is a prime example of how every failure that you encounter throughout the game isn't the fault of the game not offering accessibility options. In a way, it's your own inability or inexperience with adapting with what the game throws at you. Every time I take damage throughout the recording of this video, I felt an immediate sensation of, oh yeah, I could have done this to avoid taking that damage, or oh, I shouldn't have zoned out while falling down this massive pit. And that's also part of why you see me die so much and take so much damage throughout this video. I've accepted that I will never be quote-unquote good at Hollow Knight. I will always be decent enough to progress through the game, but never to a point where I won't be dying. Like, I could be in an end game area and I will still find a way to zone out for even just a split second and take a bit of damage because of some spikes and maybe an enemy that I wasn't seeing right away, and I'm okay with that. The intrigue and the charm of Hollow Knight is what keeps me going. To further this, Hollow Knight's chibi-ization of the Tim Burton-esque art style kind of complements the challenge of it. When you look at your screen right now, you get the sensation of this is a dark and dreary place, a place that is not going to be forgiving to me and my faults and my follies. This challenge and this difficulty also doesn't mean that you can't happen to get lucky or that you can't manage to clutch out a boss fight every now and then. The footage that you are watching right now of me fighting False Knight is the first time that I've been able to fight False Knight without dying. Normally I die at least once fighting False Knight. The only other thing I would like to touch on is Hollow Knight's abilities. For most boss fights throughout Hollow Knight, you will acquire a permanent upgrade, or even just out in the world you can find permanent upgrades that do not cost charm notches, such as the Mothwing Cloak or the various spells such as Vengeful Spirit. There are certain gaps throughout the game map where they would be inaccessible to cross without the Mothwing Cloak, but as you can see right here, with the Mothwing Cloak I am able to cross that gap no problem. These abilities often can also be used in combat, like the Mothwing Cloak as an example can be used as a form of a dodge, and it can also be used as a form of charging after an enemy that is maybe running away or is bounced out of your range. More often than not, though, I end up getting killed from doing so. Hollow Knight is also a good example of something I've said for a long time to at least my friends and family. A lack of accessibility options or a difficulty of doing something doesn't mean it's going to stop me or anyone else from doing it. I look at Hollow Knight, I recognize the fact that my patience will run thin with it and that I'll never truly get good at it, but that's okay. Hollow Knight's charm, mystery, and the overall cuteness of it all just pulls me back in every now and then. I do recognize that there are some disabilities that make it not conducive to playing high action, high intensity speed games like Hollow Knight. Like, say, if you have tremors or other mobility issues. That doesn't mean that you can't still give Hollow Knight a try, though. Most video game platforms out there nowadays offer a refund process where as long as you haven't played the game within a certain threshold, or as long as you purchased the game a certain amount of time ago, you can still get your money back. Oftentimes this is what I'll do. I will try out a game for a few minutes, maybe like an hour, and then I'll refund it as long as I know that I'm below that threshold. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hollow Knight is a game that I've been playing on and off for several years, and while I know I won't ever get really good at it, it's still a game I really enjoy coming back to every now and then. Tune in for Terraria, a sandbox crafting game about defeating eldritch horrors.